St. Thomas University Journalism and the New Brunswick Beacon present The Basement Files, this week hosted by Stephanie Sirois, Oscar Baker III, Kenya Marceline, and Connor Brown. Here are your top stories.
The Liberal government has announced pay cuts for all cabinet ministers.
A huge winter storm blew through the eastern seaboard, leaving snow everywhere.
Storm ships, what are they? Where did they come from? And why is Twitter so obsessed with them?
4 months into their term, New Brunswick's Liberal government has declared that all 12 cabinet ministers will receive pay cuts in their annual salaries. Emily McPhee is at the NB legislature to tell you more.
I'm here in the capital city at New Brunswick Legislature, where the Liberals have said the province's deficit of $377.2 million needed fixing during their fall campaign. With such pay cuts come more questions.
The power of pay cuts lies first in boosting New Brunswick's morale. The Liberal Party's initiative is not only about numbers, it's also about getting the community engaged. Fredericton City Councillor Greg Erickson says the pay cuts are not nominally significant.
And it doesn't get us meaningfully towards those goals. But what it does do is it demonstrates that they're going to be personally responsible and they're going to take a leadership role in moving the whole province towards some of the harder choices we have to make in order to tackle that bigger structural deficit.
Earlier this year, Erickson attended a strategic program review meeting. The meetings were a way for local MLAs to discuss ideas on improving New Brunswick's economy. Erickson says these meetings are just the tip of the iceberg, much like the pay cuts in Cabinet.
It's not going to have an economic impact, it's going to have a social and political one, right? So it's going to, I think, when you see, the leader of the province and, their senior civil servants and, other employees taking it seriously like this, you might be willing to look into your own capacity to help with the cuts. Or to, when they run engagement exercises that are, that they embrace that enthusiastically, it might convince the public to bring forward ideas or to participate more in the process.
If you want to be a politician, in my opinion, and no one does this, but this is the way it should be. If you want to be a politician, you should do it because you want to better the society that we're in and not do it for money.
Caleb DeMerchant is a student teacher who lives in Fredericton. In 2014, he voted Conservative. Since then, he's been keeping a keen eye on New Brunswick's political scene. DeMerchant says he's open to all political views and believes as long as a party's idea is strong, it doesn't matter who they represent. But the pay cuts are something he's wary of.
So I don't think he needs a pay at all. If he wants to be premier, he should just do it because he wants to be premier. But if he wants, it sends a weird message. It's saying we're not about business, but we are about business at the same time. So I think it's kind of a vote grabbing thing, isn't it?
Politics are never cut and dried. It's not clear how the public will react to these cuts or if more cuts will follow. For St. Thomas Journalism, I'm Emily McPhee.
A 38-year-old man is facing several charges from an incident last Wednesday. Rene Michael Gerard has been charged with sexual assault, uttering threats, and more. He was arrested in Nakowick when he attempted to flee a residence Tuesday afternoon. The spokesperson for the Fredericton Police Force said that Gerard was arrested without incident after a brief foot pursuit. Gerard was reported to be a threat to public safety and was wanted for an outstanding warrant.
New Brunswick's weather has been an issue for people for the past couple of weeks. The blizzards, snowstorms, and cold weather has been detrimental for some people in and going through the province. The RCMP is doing an ongoing investigation on a man that was found dead in the Moncton area. The police had made it clear that the man had been outside in the cold weather for more than 24 hours and had to be dug out of the snow. However, the cause of the death has yet to be released.
A recent Supreme Court ruling will soon make doctor-assisted suicides legal in Canada. Brandon Ramey has more on this story.
The Supreme Court of Canada has overruled the decision they made 20 years ago. The most famous case, R v. Rodriguez, was highly publicized and brought to light tough decisions with many sides. This is the first time since R v. Rodriguez that the court has passed judgment on the issue of doctor-assisted suicide. In the most recent case, Carter v. Canada, 9 judges ruled unanimously in favor of the right to access doctor-assisted suicide in Canada. For many Canadians, this decision has been cause for frustration, but for others, tears of joy. Vanessa Belli has experienced the heartache of watching loved ones pass slowly and painfully. The decision has made her hopeful for a future of calmer passings.
It's really not about the quantity, it's about the quality of your life. And that's again why I do support this decision for assisted suicide, is really because it's, if you've had a good life and you're ready to go, why would I hold you back?
The 69-page judgment does not use the term suicide, instead using death or dying throughout the document. The focus for the decision was the right to life, liberty, and the security of person. The court believed that prohibiting individuals from doctor-assisted suicide was an infringement on their constitutionally protected rights. Associate Professor, Chair of the Political Science Department at St.Thomas University, Tom Bateman, says he is concerned with how available information will be about doctor-assisted suicide in the future.
One thing that I will look for is the availability of good, truthful data in years to come documenting how much assisted suicide there will be.
Although it is unclear what regulations will be put on the new doctor-assisted suicide in Canada, the government will have just 1 year to come up with the legislation. For St. Thomas Journalism, I'm Brandon Ramey.
New Brunswickers have experienced one of the worst winters to date, and the snow continues to pile up. The Fredericton Fire Department is trying something new this year to help winter run a little more smoothly. Tyson Hovey has that story.
The fire department faces the same problems each year when it comes to winter and the amount of snow we see here in the Maritimes. Snowbanks are beginning to pile up and fire hydrants are becoming harder and harder to find. David McKinley is the Assistant Deputy Chief for the Fredericton Fire Department.
So our crews are around shoveling out the hydrants, and also public workers going around and clearing them as well. So they'll clear the push snow away, and then our people will follow up with and clean the actual hydrant itself off.
The snow is also making it difficult on homeowners who use natural gas. McKinley says that people forget to keep their natural gas vents shoveled out, which can cause a buildup of carbon monoxide in the home. If people aren't careful, the result can be fatal. He says everyone should own a carbon monoxide detector and call the fire department if they suspect a problem. While out with the fire department, they received a carbon monoxide call. Luckily for Paul Ouellette, it was only a false alarm.
The reason it's important to keep your vents clear is because you have exhaust and air intake. So if you start mixing the two, you're bringing back the fumes that have been created when you burn natural gas, and it's extremely dangerous and potentially creates a life-threatening situation with carbon monoxide poisoning.
They're hoping by spreading awareness throughout the community that people will be able to prevent these problems before they happen.
The Fredericton Fire Department are reminding residents of the dangers that snow can cause to them and their homes. Sometimes awareness can be all the difference. For St. Thomas Journalism, I'm Tyson Hovey.
The recent blizzards have focused snowplows on the roads, leaving sidewalks and pedestrians second. Patrick Lowe can tell you how pedestrians are faring this winter.
You're probably used to the crunch of snow under your feet during the winter. When it comes to snow removal, most people are focused on the roads. But for those using the sidewalks, trouble is common. Whether it's slippery conditions or snowbanks blocking off sidewalks completely, pedestrians should be ready to take it slow. Chris Ryder is a computer science student at the University of New Brunswick. He says the sidewalks are worse than ever.
They're a death trap. I walk every Sunday, and about every Sunday there's been a storm, and they're never plowed. So you just walk over them, and then you have cars in your way, so you walk around those too.
3 blizzard warnings have been issued in Fredericton over the last 3 weeks. These storms keep Fredericton snowplows busy, and the snowbanks keep on growing.
The city of Fredericton is expecting 40 or more centimeters of snow during this storm, so pedestrians should be ready for tougher sidewalks over the next few days. For St. Thomas Journalism, I'm Patrick Lowe.
The Canadian beef industry is wary after South Korea blocked imports of Canadian beef. The beef industry is trying to reassure the markets after a cow tested positive for mad cow disease on the 6th of February. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency is continuing their investigation into how the cow became infected.
Here in Fredericton, St. Thomas University is in the midst of revamping their sexual assault policy. St. Thomas University intends to change its sexual assault policy by the end of this month. Students have been pushing for the policy to be rewritten in the Stu Code of Conduct for several years. This is a large step for the university, who used to have strict ties with the Catholic Church. The main goal of the new protocol is to make sure that survivors of sexual assault feel safe on campus. Although St. Thomas has only 6 incidents of sexual assault in the last 5 years, students still believe most cases go unreported.
Winter storms have been hitting Atlantic Canada hard this year, but a Twitter hashtag has popped up and seems to be keeping people's spirits up. Connor J. has more on the story.
Potato chips have become the latest addition to winter storm emergency list, at least in Atlantic Canada. Yes, that's right, potato chips. This is all due to a popular Twitter hashtag, Storm Chips. The hashtag originated on Twitter when the host of Main Street Halifax on CBC Radio 1 tweeted using the hashtag when she was preparing for the latest storm. The hashtag has taken off and has been wildly popular during Atlantic Canadian storms. Philip Drost is a Fredericton resident on Twitter who has watched the hashtag develop. He saw it come across his Twitter feed and, not knowing what it was, decided to do some digging.
I looked it up on Twitter, and I found that it was actually a pretty big deal. Like, there was different news organizations were talking about storm trips, and there was tons of posts about storm trips. They were actually, some of them were pretty funny.
While storm trips might prove popular on Twitter, Drost says it's quite the opposite in his house.
We don't go buy a lot of chips. My mom would have none of that. She isn't a huge proponent of eating excess junk food.
For Stu Journalism and the New Brunswick Beacon, I'm Connor J.
The weather may be cold, but Winterfest is making up for it this year. Residents gathered at the Fredericton Exhibition Centre to celebrate the local tradition. Lori Mazerol has the story.
People of all ages gathered at the Exhibition Centre on Saturday to enjoy Winterfest. Outside on the racetrack, people of all ages could enjoy many different activities while the DJ blasted them with music. Parents looked on as their children were pulled around by dogs that were only too happy. Then they got some maple taffy while the children got lost in the snow maze.
You know the way.
There were also some sculptures that people could enjoy. These sculptures were carved from the snow using a snow shovel and some well-placed icicles. Inside the exhibition center was another story. People came in from outside and warmed up with some hot carrot soup from Isaac's Way, and sat down to some live music. There were also several tables with a variety of goods, from jewelry to hand-painted works, all done by local artists. Of course, it just wouldn't be an event at the exhibition center without a petting zoo. Just don't try to feed the emus without a glove. Finally, there was an auction hosted by Isaac's Way. However, there's more to it than just promoting the restaurant, as the proceeds go to coats and boots for children. Tina Lejeune is in charge of the auction here at Winterfest.
At the restaurant, we always have art on the walls, and we raise money for kids in need. So this is similar, but it's a quick auction. It's only things that are created at Winterfest. It's a real community feeling to do it here live where everyone can see.
Len Legier is one of the artists. He started painting a few years ago, and here he is, painting everyone from John Wayne to Elvis Presley.
Well, I was supposed to get a painting done for my mother-in-law had given me a painting to finish for her. She passed away, and the painting sat in my basement for 8 years. And finally, my wife said, "You gotta paint this." So she got me a month worth of lesson how to mix and use paint. So I went and I stayed, and I kept on painting ever since.
For Stu Journalism, I'm Lauren Mazerol.
A pricey heating bill has led the Charlotte Street Arts Center to cut some community programming. While the center isn't closing down anytime soon, they're looking for a way to close their windows. Sean McCollum has the report.
As you walk through the halls of the Charlotte Street Arts Center, you may not notice the comfortable temperature. But the Arts Center's budget is shivering, leaving art fans out in the cold. The creaking floorboards of the Arts Center let you know that the building is more than a century old. Originally built as a school in the 1800s, the building now houses some of the finest artwork in the province. Heating costs due to winter's harsh conditions spell trouble for the Arts Center's dwindling budget.
There's a hole back here, so in addition, so there's a crack. There's a crack that with the cold air is like coming through.
Kate Rogers is the executive program director of the Arts Center. She said that half the windows in the building are old, damaged, and need to be replaced. These are repairs that the Arts Center simply cannot afford. Each passing day means a smaller budget for community programs and events.
This winter is shaping up to be a bad winter, and as a result of that, it's just money that, as I say, literally is going out the window in heat, and it's not money that we're able to spend on arts programming in the community.
At the NB Filmmakers Co-op, some artists like Tony Merzetti wear their coats indoors to fight the chilly temperature.
Who will suffer through the high heat bills and suffer it out and wear 2 or 3 layers to work each day, which most of us do.
Rogers says that there is no chance that the Charlotte Street Arts Center will be closing its doors. She says that the center will continue to search for the funding to repair the windows. She hopes that the worst of the winter has passed so that no more programming will be cut and that tenants' rent can stay low.
Trying to live healthy throws the best of us off our game. but students are having a harder time than most. A new book on healthy living resources is working to change that. Taylor Hoyt has more.
Believe it or not, physical education was mandatory in universities from the early 1900s until the 60s. Physical health was seen as a marker of moral and mental strength by university administrators. Dr. Catherine Gidney launched her book, Tending the Student Body, on Friday. The book outlines the development and transformation of health programs for post-secondary students.
I think what they were trying to do early on was unite the mind and body so that, you know, if you had a healthy body, then you would be able to have a clearer mind and think harder and more. That has sort of disappeared, and students are, while there are lots of services for students, students are left on their own to fulfill that element of the physical body.
Jonathan Giannette, Stu's track team captain, sees the value in staying active while in school.
It's very good for my stress levels when it comes to studying, all those little things. So it helps my stress level, keeps me in shape.
Being physically healthy and working out is important, but Giannette advises that if you're going to go to the gym, don't do it for anybody but yourself. For Stu Journalism, I'm Taylor Hoyt.
Gary readers rejoice, the annual book fair is back. This year, the Gary Elementary School has a big prize and an even bigger goal. Brittany Lively has the details.
If you remember your school days as a child, these pictures may look familiar to you. It was the same time as those awful parent-teacher interviews, where you just wanted to hide. It's Book Fair Week, a place where you could purchase all kinds of books, knickknacks, dive into the world of reading, and hide from your parents' teacher meetings. Wallace Carr is in charge of the book fair every year.
We've been doing a book fair for, I would say, around 15 years.
Every year, the students have a goal to raise. Last year, Wallace decided to add some fun into it by letting them slime him if they succeeded. They did. This year, with a higher goal, the sliming is greater.
And this year their goal is 4,500.
Yeah.
And they're going to get the slime for the 4 males of the school. Mr. Beach, Mr. McTavish, Mr. Langtang, and myself.
Students and parents also have the option to purchase books their teachers wish to have for their classrooms. This is called the classroom wish list. With the pile of books, posters, and school supplies they receive, it's a wonder what happens to it when the book fair is done. Wallace ensures that nothing goes to waste, especially the books.
You get 60% back in book sales. Mm-hmm. So those books go to the homeroom teachers. They get to come down and pick out say up to $200 worth of books for each classroom, including Head Start. And then there's also $400 worth of books goes to our library. So
books can be a great purchase, and the Gary School is hoping to sell enough for the sliming. For St. Thomas Journalism, I'm Brittany Lively.
The movie Frozen is still on fire in Fredericton. A Frozen-themed sing-along dance party kicked off Fosterville for children this year. E-Fan can tell you more on that story.
You are never too old to watch or sing along to Disney movie Frozen. Fredericton Public Library hosts an Anna and Elsa sing-along dance party on Saturday. Librarians dressed up as movie's main characters and welcomed the children to dress up as princesses. More than 60 children along with their parents showed up at the library to enjoy the event with their favorite characters. Nancy Edgar is the children's librarian.
This is the Frozen Sing-Along Dance Party, so it's part of Fredericton's Fosterville events, and Fredericton Tourism each year hosts a wide variety of events all across the city in the month of February, and we're happy that we've been able to take part over the last few years. And so today we were doing a sing-along and a dance to the movie Frozen.
After singing and dancing, the princesses were led into the children's session to use their imagination to decorate their tiara and ice paint with their parents. Tiny hands, and more tiny hands, and finally, a big smiling face. As for Sophia and her mother, they had a lot of fun.
She's been singing the songs for about a year now, and she wanted to dress up as Anna for Halloween, so she was excited when I told her about this.
Frostival's Frozen Dance and Sing-Along was the perfect way for parents and guardians to spend the afternoon with their children. Monday will be the end of Frostival for this year. For Stu Journalism, I'm Ethan.